Welcome to part 2 of embodying your faith, at least for this particular topic. So let's start off by looking at the poem again. I'm going to share my screen. And let's just go from the top. Your great mistake is to act the drama as if you were alone, as if life were a progressive and cunning crime with no witness to the tiny hidden transgressions. To feel abandoned is to deny the intimacy of your surroundings. Surely, even you at times have felt the grand array, the swelling presence in the chorus crowding out your solo voice. You must note the way the soap dish enables you, or the window latch grants you freedom. Alertness is the hidden discipline of familiarity. The stairs are your mentor of things to come. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. And we're going to stop there. And I want to repeat the parts that I've highlighted. You must note the way the window latch grants you freedom. The doors have always been there to frighten you and invite you. Let me stop sharing for just a moment. So here I am at one of the window latches. And we're going to look at window latches and doors today. When I think about window latches and doors from an Alexander technique point of view, it makes me think about a whole host of things that we do frequently. And the assumption is that we have habits around how we do those things. So for example, this window latch is one, at least when it's warmer, that I open a lot. And when I go to it, I don't even think about it. I put my hand on, I flip that thing up, and I go from there, right? Alexander technique asks us to consider that as our habit, and consider that perhaps the habit isn't actually reflecting the work necessary, as in what does it actually take to open that window latch so that it can grant me freedom. I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to move to a door. And here I am at a door. This is actually a door to a closet. And in this closet, there are some coats, there are my foam rollers. And when it's close to Halloween time, it's also where we store the candy until the kiddos come, with hopes that we won't eat it all. So there's stuff in this closet. It's also one that I open on a regular basis. And I can tell you that this knob tends to stick a little bit. So when I think about the possibility of having habits associated with this door, I'm guessing that I have a habit of really cranking on that doorknob. So what I'd like you to do right now is to find a window latch or a door that you open on a regular basis and actually consider the possibility of what comes to mind when you think about that window or that door, and see if you can automatically think, I bet this might be part of my habit. And then let's just break that down a little bit more. So the first thing we're going to look for is what might we be doing to prepare for doing the actual thing. What do I mean by that? I mean, for example, with this door, before I even put my hand on the knob, do I start tightening my arm because I think that doorknob is going to stick, right? How am I going to know? Well, I'm going to try it. I'm literally going to walk up to it. And sure enough, I can feel that starting to tighten. So what I'm doing is I'm just thinking through myself, as in I'm considering, how's my neck feel? How's my head feel? How's my shoulders feel? My arms, my legs, et cetera, et cetera. And you can do that multiple times. So go ahead and pause the video and do that exploration. See if you can figure out what you're doing in prep. Once you've done that, then see if you can, in fact, choose to do this, as in this case, open the door in a new way. So I'm going to talk to myself. I'm going to say, all right, so I'm going to wait until I actually make contact with that doorknob. And then I'm going to find out what actual effort it takes. So I'm going to come to the door. I'm going to put my hand on the knob, and I'm just going to pause for a moment. And I'm going to make sure that right now, this arm is still relaxed, that I haven't put tension in the back of my neck. I'm not gripping the floor with my toes. And then I'm going to actually turn, and I'm just going to see how much effort it actually takes. And you probably noticed that it didn't look like I had to do much of anything, because I didn't have to do much of anything. Now, maybe that's because today it's not sticking. This house was built in 37, so, some days it does, some days it doesn't. But the reality is about me being aware in this moment of what actually is, instead of this habit that I've developed. So again, pause the video, take a moment to actually try your activity, your door, your window latch, and see if you can interrupt that process and say, all right, what actually is necessary? What's the work required? And then come back. Once you've done that investigation, then you're ready to take it up a notch. So we're kind of expanding that sense of me in this activity to try to include whole self the whole time I'm in the activity. In other words, that I'm not going, oh, I want to open that door, and everything that I'm paying attention to is right on that doorknob. I'm going to try to start from a place that, oh, I feel my feet on the ground. I feel my legs coming up from my feet. I feel my torso balancing over my legs. I feel my arms coming out away from my torso, my neck coming up from my torso, my head resting easily on top. And I'm going to keep that awareness, and I'm going to now include the door. So I'm still aware of all of me, but I'm also including the door, and specifically even the doorknob, but I haven't lost my sense of all of me. And then I'm going to go into that activity saying, yep, I'm thinking all the way through my head, through my torso, through my legs, down to the floor, all the way back up. I'm making contact with the doorknob. I might pause here and purposely think all the way down and all the way back up. And then I'm thinking, I'm going to find out what work is necessary. I'm going to open that door. Right? Again, feel free to pause and try that activity. Once you've done that, then we're ready to talk about how work necessary might have something to say to you about your faith. For example, do you remember the story about the fishermen being told to leave their nets? What does that say to you about what work is necessary and in what moment? Maybe you think about the rich guy being told, you know what, it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Is that somehow different in your understanding if you view it from a what's the work necessary kind of frame? If you happen to be around in a time and place that the phrase, what would Jesus do, was a significant part of your growing up. For me, I was a little bit older when that came along. So it was interesting to me, but it wasn't the heart of my peers that were talking about it. But what might that idea, that way of trying to look at the world and what we're doing in the world through that lens, how might that be in conversation with what's the work necessary? And maybe part of that conversation is, what does necessary mean, right? Are you susceptible to the trap of being good enough or doing enough good? Is that something that you find yourself caught up in and berating yourself or feeling guilty, et cetera, et cetera? And is that actually a worthwhile conversation, or are there other ways that you could reframe that, thinking about what's the work necessary? There is literally a play written in the medieval era called Everyman. And in that play, good deeds, which is a character, is the only thing that goes with every man into the grave. And I'm not saying that I want to put words into the playwright's mouth. We don't even know who wrote it. But does that bring up for you a kind of scorekeeping? If I do enough good things, is that the work necessary? And are you, without even realizing it, keeping score with yourself? Can the work necessary in everyday life, when I'm opening a door, when I'm opening a window, can that actually remind you that our necessary work might be the organic result, of our relationship with Jesus Christ? Let me say that again, since the words didn't come out right. Is it possible that we can use this investigation of the work necessary and think of the work necessary as something that will organically come from our relationship with Jesus Christ? Now let's go back to the poem for just a moment. You must note the way the window latch grants you freedom, and the doors have always been there to frighten and invite you. So where's the freedom with your faith, in your faith? beyond the freedom to be in relationship with Jesus, that we get to choose, where else do you find freedom in your faith? Might window latches and doorknobs be an invitation to remember the grace we've been given, not because we worked hard enough, because we're loved. And what occurs to you if you think of grace like the window latch, like the door, grace inviting you, of grace freeing something for you, or grace freeing you?